UCLA stays perfect champs once again of the Overnght MPSF Invitational. We'll talk with their keeper, Nate Tauscher. Team USA is off to Europe with a variety of top clubs. We'll check in with Water Polo 360 and James Spencer-Boyce to learn more all about that. And big news on the Florida high school water polo scene, all coming up next on The Counterattack. Hi everyone, Greg Mescall here. Thanks for joining us on The Counterattack right here on Overnght. Great to be back with you. Lots of news to get to. We start first in the college ranks. The Overnght MPSF Invitational in Westwood, bringing together some of the top teams in the country. It came down to the vaunted Big Four in this one. UCLA and Cal meeting for the championship. Two teams coming in undefeated. And then in third place, Stanford and USC, they would go down to the wire as well. Let's take a look at some of the highlights that aired right here on Overnght.
Kolic's out of Dubrovnik, Croatia. Oh, how about that find? A huge goal by Marci Stotsmary. Spot, no looker, back up top, palm Farad, a nice little feed to the flat, extra touch wing, and shading onto the near side was Nate Tauscher. And Dodd is free to fire. He does. A bouncer, a banger, a goal. 3-2. Chase searching, Chase firing, Chase scoring. You are not going to chase that down if you're a defense.
Right side of the pool with those left-handers.
Brinkma with a rocking goal, still scores.
Keep going this way if they can keep getting the ball inside.
Olathe with a skipper that Pina gets a hand on. Achveldiani in a way. Touch pass and a dunk down by Chase Wilson.
Man, that's the second time.
Carsolati with a fire, a score, and a lead for the Bruins. Ray Carson will come in his place when the exclusion's over. So Cal now with a power play. Great block by Tauscher and goal. Even men here in the pool. As Tauscher gets his left palm in front of that shot. Side Achveldiani looking for his first goal. Instead, he unselfishly gives it up to Maddox Arlette. UCLA looking to lock up the championship, and that's going to help their chances.
Yeah, I mean, it's every player's dream, to be honest. But, I mean, it's pretty awful to obviously let my team down a little in that way. But, I mean, I was hopefully able to kind of make it up on the offensive side. But other than that, I think our team did well defensively, holding them to single digits, which is all you can really ask for. So it's great.
You know, the group will get back together hopefully sooner rather than later. But credit to the group for hanging in there. And again, tough week. But found a way to win tough. And, you know, the reality is yesterday and last night, how to find a way to win when we run at our best. And you know, and today it was, again, a second half game.
Well, you'll see him in the 1-2, but you'll see him at the 6 as well. Oh. Shot deflected in the goal. USC on a 3-0 spurt here. Early 3-0 spurt. Stanford responded with a goal, but the Trojans have been in control. Field block, but that ball tipped over. Now 4. He's the sophomore from Walnut Creek. Skip pass far side, and a wedgie or a donut. Eye contact towards that Trojan bench. Fires it, bounces it, and scores it. They get it back to him. USC currently 3 for 7, now 4 for 8. D. Mertier for the 1-score deficit. Fires, scores. You don't have to give him the game ball. He'll just take it.
Yeah, he's going to do it right now.
And he ties things up 7-7 for all of this period and much of that second period. And finally, the twine has been tickled by Robert Lopez Duarte. High school football coach in San Diego. Doesn't matter. There's a goal by Bollig, and that's right up in his grill. Osmith firing, scoring. Trojans lead by 1. Jack Vort, skip pass, goal. An alley-oop to Andre Gergovich. Trojans lead by 1. Lopez Duarte holding it, and that will do it. Lopez Duarte with a cherry on top of the third-place Sunday.
Let's take a look at our college scoreboard from this past weekend. As mentioned, all the big action happening in Westwood at the Overnght MPSF Invitational. USC over Stanford in that third-place matchup, and then UCLA 2 goals better than Cal, 11-9. We should also point out the semifinals, just because these results are so important when you think about resume building towards the postseason. UCLA defeats Stanford in one semi 13-12, and then Cal over USC 13-11. Some other scores of interest: Princeton 1 goal better than UC Irvine, 16-15. Likewise, Santa Clara just slipping past UC Santa Barbara, 11-10. UC San Diego over Davis, 14-12. How about all these close scores? And then we'll look at Long Beach State, 1 goal better than LMU, 12-11. Now let's turn to our first big conversation in this episode. Fresh off the win you just saw, UCLA keeper Nate Tauscher joins us. Nate, the Sunset Beach, California native, he redshirted his first season, split with Garrett Griggs last year, but then got the start in the championship, 10 saves over USC to give the Bruins the title, and now he's the main man in net in Westwood. He joined us for a conversation about the big wins this past weekend and his time at UCLA. And our next guest here on the counterattack, the goalkeeper for the number one team, the defending champs, the UCLA Bruins, Nate Tauscher is here. Nate, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Thanks for being here with us. You're coming off a big weekend, overnight champs in your home pool there in Westwood. A couple of tight ones, 1-goal game in the semis, and then you get past the Bears in the finals. Tell me from your standpoint, what went right for the Bruins? How'd you guys pull it out in two tough battles?
I think the important thing that went right for our team was just finishing strong, and when we're down, how we play when we're down, like how we play harder when we're losing by a few goals, stuff like that.
Do you, when you're down a little bit, does it almost like flip a switch for you guys? You seem to do okay even when it seems like things aren't going okay.
I mean, it's not exactly where you want to be.
Yeah.
I mean, on any team when you're down, but when we're down in those third or like the second half, for example, it definitely does flip a switch, and we like to finish those games harder.
What's this journey been like for you? Now, this is year one where you're the main guy in the cage, right? You know, your red shirt, you're kind of splitting time with Griggs last year, and then you get a chance to be the starter out of the gate. What was it like for you coming into this year, having that sense that you'd play the bulk of the minutes in goal?
I mean, it's a very special thing to get to finally have your role on the team like set in stone, and it means a lot. And I'm just trying to like accept the responsibility every day.
What does that look like from a leadership standpoint? I know obviously we talked about the red shirt and then last year and this year. Do you think of yourself as a leader? As a goalie, you kind of have to be a guy that is talking a lot. Where do you fit in that idea?
I mean, definitely as a goalie, you are a leader on the team, but I'd say I'm trying to work my way into being that leader role. I'm not exactly like the leader on the team yet, but I'm trying to get there.
What's something that you feel like you've gotten better at? If you think back to your redshirt year to where you are now, where have you improved?
I would say I've improved in I would say my confidence and definitely like communication aspects of the game and like what to say, like certain situations I feel comfortable like communicating, and like also just like the reps that you get at practice, obviously you feel more and more comfortable like in these like games and stuff. So like I've been here, this is my third year at UCLA, and definitely feeling more comfortable.
There are, as you know, huge expectations. If you play at UCLA, you're not just supposed to be good, you're supposed to win a championship. That's what everyone is thinking at the start of the year. That's not for everybody. How do you handle large expectations just by putting on the UCLA cap and suit?
Well, yeah, at UCLA we do strive for those large, like the NCAA goal, and to win that is a big thing for us. But we try to focus on the smaller goals along the way, and just like taking care of every day at practice. Like those are the big things. Like those are how you don't really want to focus all the time on the NCAA final, rather than like just putting it into practice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're exactly
that's
right.
where we try to put our focus.
Let's talk about, you are an NCAA champ though, going back to last year, splitting time in cage, but then when it comes to that semi and especially that final, you get the call there to go up against SC and come up with a strong effort and 10 saves in that win. What's it like? Again, we talked about it, right? You had your role defined coming into this year. You think back to last year, what's it like to get the word from coach that it's going to be your time in the biggest match of the season?
I mean, for me, it definitely it wasn't exactly all planned out like that. So it was I was super excited to get the opportunity to play in those games, and nothing was set in stone. So it was really exciting. It's definitely like nervous, but just gotta like attack those nerves and like get after it and just play like how I know I can play, and that's all I try to do.
I'm glad you brought up the nerves because that's the first thing that kind of came to mind at that game last year. Early in that first quarter, I think we were thinking on the broadcast, like, how's this guy feeling, right? There's just got to be a level of nervousness. And I always think, not, as a non-goalie, but I always wonder, does that first touch of the ball, does that first save, does that kind of get you into the game? What kind of helps you settle into a game, especially if the nerves are high?
Yeah, well, when those nerves are kind of going, I mean, I try to just like focus on myself anyway, but like it's definitely nice when you have the momentum on your side. Not exactly from a goalie standpoint, but just from the game in general. Mm-hmm. So just like when the offense is going, like when you're scoring goals, when you're obviously like getting a couple stops, it's super nice. It makes you feel more comfortable. But like in those like semifinal game against Stanford, we were obviously down in like the first half and whatnot. And it was definitely hard to build that momentum up like the way we wanted to. But just had to keep like going. It was a gritty game, and we knew we could do it. So we just had to like keep going.
As you get towards the end of that championship final and, you understand that it's going to be yours to take home, what sort of emotions come to mind when you realize you're going to be an NCAA champion?
I mean, just like such like happiness, like when just like the opportunity to get to play in that final is huge, and it's like a lifelong dream. To win it is something like so special, and just really want to do it again.
Yeah, it gets a little bit addicting, right? To have that experience one more time at least.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully.
Looking down the road of this season, what's it going to take? You know that everyone is gunning for UCLA. They're going to give you the absolute best effort. There's still a chunk of the season to go, right? You have all these conference matchups. You have a little bit of travel up to the Bay Area as well. How do you make sure you're back in that position to have a chance to repeat?
Well, I feel like coming back and like after like last year winning it, we just got like, we were trying to put a big focus on just like not doing the same thing we did last year, but trying to do even more, because people are preparing obviously for UCLA and like they watch film on UCLA. Like, how could we be different than the team we were even last year? How could we be better than we were in like every game, even from like the MPSF invite? How can we show like when they watch film that we're not like just that, we're changing, we're continuously moving to like our final point being at the NCAAs, you know what I mean? And like just trying to get to that final like best team that we could possibly become.
These tough moments, we think about the Stanford game, right? You look back at some of those numbers I'm talking about just from this past weekend. They put up 5 in the first, they put up 3 in the third. I think people get confused sometimes and think, well, anytime a ball goes in the net, it's the goalie's problem. We know it's a team game, right? But you're still the last line of defense there. When you're able to come back from moments like that and then build towards a win, how does that fuel you for future matchups when you have to play a Stanford again or SC or another large game?
So just like taking those like quarters where, for example, maybe they scored like 5 in the first with Stanford, and like how if I didn't play my best, how can I like learn from it? And like there's some new shooters shooting on me, guys who didn't play on Stanford last year but are definitely big portions of their team now. And like how can I adapt and like try to be better next time we play? And watching film obviously too.
You come from a water polo family. Your dad played at Long Beach State. Your sister plays at Cal. Was there any chance you weren't going to play water polo?
I think it was pretty set in stone. Like my dad knew the director of Shore Aquatics, and like that's how I got into water polo there. And my sister started before me, and then I kind of followed in her footsteps, and it just like went from there. My sister's actually coming to UCLA next year, so
nice.
For her 5th year, should be cool. And it's been fun ever since.
What's the scouting report from your eyes? Let's start first with your sister. How do you break down the game of Yana Tauscher?
I mean, man, it's hard to say. So she's coming from Cal, and she was playing. She was playing center at Cal, and now she's coming to UCLA. So I don't really know what Adam has in store for her yet, but could be a defender, maybe 1-2 side. I don't know yet, but I guess we'll have to see. I don't really know what's in store for her here.
And then I'm not sure if you've seen old videos or he's talked about it, but how do you break down the way that your dad played?
Just like, I would say he was a very just strong athletic player, and he just tried to like always just stay focused, and he was just a very dialed in focused player, and that's how I'd like to be at some degree. So he just the athleticism was just there, and he was just it's obviously a different game now than it was, but
sure.
And I think he enjoys watching me play now that I'm where he kind of was. So
yeah,
it's cool for him and me.
What years was he playing? Do you recall?
I don't know exactly what years.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know exactly what time.
I got you. Some, I think it's funny. Some people, if their parent played, it's okay, that's great, but I'm gonna do my thing. I got it. Are you able to hear feedback from him, or is it more hey, I'm a goalie, I'm doing my thing? What's your stance?
I feel like he kind of just tells me. He tells me things that he knows I already know, so I don't really know what to do with that. So I think he's just it's just it's a dad thing, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's just he's probably to some extent living through me and wanting to be there, and he knows how I see it, and hey, he's just like my dad. He's just telling me what I sometimes don't want to hear, and sometimes he tells me what I want to hear. So
yeah, that's cool. Well, hey, to watch your son win a championship had to be a pretty amazing experience. The UCLA guys, just having watched this group even compete during National League, and we've talked before with Ryder and Chase and some of the other guys. How do you describe just the tight bond that this team seems to have?
Well, throughout the last offseason, we definitely grew as a team through playing all those games and those hard-fought wins throughout National League and Pacific Cup, and all the other games that we played. And it's just good chemistry building. So I don't know. There's nothing really to it. It's just the more you play together, the better you get together, and trying to continuously continue to grow and just keep getting better and better.
Last thing for you, you're a Sunset Beach guy, right? In Southern California. Mm-hmm. I know you've been to the Harbor House. If not, it's gotta be a crime. What's the money order? You go in there, what are you getting?
Oh man, I really don't go there too often for food, but I'll just go with the shake, and I'll probably go with some sort of peanut butter chocolate shake if I go, but maybe a cheeseburger or something like that.
I feel like that was a little bit of a trick question for me, because the shake is the iconic thing, and so you answered correctly there with the milkshake. Nate, hey, thanks for taking some time here. I know you're in the middle of the season, and good luck. Looking forward to seeing you and the Bruins here down the way real soon.
Thank you, Greg.
We switch gears to Florida and Florida high school water polo. There was talk that Florida high school water polo was going to go away. It was up for discussion at an important meeting earlier this week, but you, the water polo community, and so many that love this game really rallied together to make sure that won't happen. And then we saw the Florida High School Athletic Association issue this statement that removing water polo has been taken off the agenda for that meeting, and instead USA Water Polo and the FHSAA, along with so many passionate folks in the water polo community, will work together on ways to collaborate and boost participation, hopefully adding more high school programs in the Sunshine State. So more to come on that, more work to be done, but a place that loves water polo. Great to see that Florida will continue to offer high school water polo at the varsity level. Now let's check in on a couple of Team USA legends, some Olympic gold medalists in New York City. Kaylee Gilchrist, Maggie Steffens taking part in the K1 Women's Executive Forum, and then Maggie also at the Sportico Rise Conference. Great to see USA water polo athletes spreading the good word on the game of water polo at some big events in the Big Apple. Speaking of Team USA, a whole host of USA athletes are off to Europe to compete with professional clubs. Our Water Polo Passport Series will launch next week, giving you weekly updates on what our athletes are doing with some top teams across the pond and beyond. Jill Romer has been in Spain about 5 minutes, already won a championship with her new club team. To get us caught up on all these comings and goings and give us an idea of the impact these athletes will have with their new club teams, we checked in with James Spencer-Boyce of Water Polo 360, one of the great news sites chronicling all things European club water polo. To learn more, we'll hear from James throughout the season to get some updates on Team USA, but we had a great talk in our second big conversation this week on the counterattack. All right, the next member of our big conversation series here on the counterattack, we welcome in from Water Polo 360, James Spencer-Boyce. James, how are you?
I'm well, thanks, Greg. How are you? Good evening. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for joining us here late night across the pond, as they would say. Super cool to talk with you, and hopefully we can have you on here from time to time. You did such a great job highlighting news and updates and everything, especially as it relates to the clubs in Europe and just water polo at large. But we find ourselves talking more and more about club water polo play with so many of our athletes playing abroad. We'll get to that in a moment, but first, congrats, one year in the game here. Just tell us a bit about Water Polo 360, how it all got started, and what's been so much fun about it for you.
Yeah, thanks, Greg, for those words. Yeah, nearly a year ago, just next week, completely spontaneously, I decided to found Water Polo 360, a sort of hobby project. I'm a full-time coach and teacher, but I have a real passion for media and creativity and graphics, and obviously water polo. And I was sitting at home a few months off. I had a lot of free time, and I just thought this is something I needed to do, create this page. It's my passion. It's passion-driven. And I try to cover everything, 360. I think the idea was 360 degrees. And I try my best to do that. And I have a little bit of a philosophy, but mainly it's a hobby, and I'm just trying to produce the best content I can and be as positive as possible about the sport that I love.
It's either the degrees or the days you work a year, maybe only 5 days off. So with a lot of content out there.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like that. I mean, anyone that works in media knows that. I'm sure you know that as well, Greg. It's tough, but it's what we love doing, right?
No doubt. A lot of results on your pages, a lot of good coverage of a variety of events. I think where you picked up a lot of traction too on the transfer market, just highlighting who's going where. What's kind of next? What do you want to see this continue to evolve into if you look down the road 6 months to a year?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound too pessimistic, but I hope to be celebrating 2 years and then 3 years and 4 years. I want to keep doing this, and at the moment, it's very simple. It's effective but simple. I would love to break into the sort of streaming sort of market, I would call it. Having access and the rights to share good quality videos from games. As you said, the transfer sort of debate and the conversation around that is always intriguing for people. They love the gossip. Water polo people love to gossip and they love to chat. But yeah, I think I would love to continue. Actually, one of the sort of main pillars of my philosophy is giving equal share of publicity to the men and women's game, and I think you see that in my posts. I did run a few stats the other day, and I do cover actually more posts for the women, which is awesome, and that's something I really strive to do. So definitely continue to help elevate the game because it's an amazing thing.
We're talking a bit about the transfer market and club water polo, and for the USA water polo national teams, I know a lot of our audience are obviously huge fans of Team USA. It's become a bigger and bigger part of the journey for a U.S. Olympian is to at some point go and play abroad. It's not a new thing, but I think we're seeing, especially on the men's side, you're getting upwards of 80% of the athletes, sometimes depending on their eligibility, will be over in Europe at one point or another. we have a series called Water Polo Passport. We do it every Monday, kind of just to update our fans on what our athletes are doing abroad. First announcement of that coming very soon with the new placements for athletes. Let's start first with our men's national team athletes. And again, the year after an Olympics, right, the start of that new quad, I think there's always kind of a reset of, are guys going to keep playing? Are they going to step away? And so we have a lot of our veteran guys that have taken a year off to kind of, I think, assess their future. And so if you think about guys like Ben Halleck, who are with Recco, or Alex Bowen with Sabadell, right, they're trying to figure out those next steps, but still a lot of talent. I think the name that jumps out right away, Max Irving making the move to Recco. They were just in New York City for a series of matches. James, that's a team that felt like they were on the brink there, right, with ownership change, and now they have come back with a vengeance here and reloaded in a major way. Where do you see Max fitting in to this new look Recco squad?
Yeah, I mean, they've had a pretty turbulent year. I mean, this time last year, their owner left, Volpe. Their Alvaro Granados deal collapsed very, very publicly, and it was, it looked quite bleak for the club. And you look a year on, and Granados finally arrives. Irving, who's also up there, he's definitely one of the headline signings. Rino Buric from Croatia, Nicosia in goal, Pavillard. But yeah, I mean, for me, Max Irving, he is going into the best roster in the world. And for him, he's been in Italy for a while now, and he's gone from sort of like, I remember Tellemar and Brescia, both absolutely outstanding clubs. Brescia particularly, I've absolutely loved him there. He's been a real leader there. His role's going to change a little bit because he's not the main guy. He faces so much competition there. He will need to be consistent, but he has, in my opinion, the best coach in the world guiding him, and he's really, really good with Max's position. So he's going to learn so much, and he's just going to be in the best environment. I think he'll do really, really well.
We mentioned Alex Bowen leaving Sabadell there in Spain. Jack Larson, a rising talent with Team USA, he joins the club. You mentioned Tellemar, Nicholas Savalic joining Tellemar for this season. No surprise, Luca Cupido stays in Italy. Hannes Dobé coming back from Australia, spent some time in Australia last season, and now heads to Greece. And then, of course, Adrian Weinberg in Greece as well. We have seen so many athletes on the Team USA side compete in Greece, and we'll hit on some of the women's athletes as well. Give us a sense of that Greek league. Obviously, there's some teams there towards the top, but it seems like there are just an endless amount of clubs in Greece for athletes to play for, and it seems like it has the best of all worlds, where there's obviously the elite side of it, the very, very good clubs, but then it also seems to be a great proving ground for athletes that want to maybe take that first step in the international game from a club perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the Greek league is amazing. Unfortunately, I don't think they've quite got the formula right yet in terms of the format. I think they're about to change it. So it used to be 2 groups of 6. Now they're going into a straight 12-team league, and I think that will make it a bit simpler, and you'll see more of the high-level clashes. But I mean, the Greek league, the coaches there are outstanding, and I mean, Adrian Weinberg going to Panathinaikos. I'm sure maybe some of your fans who watch basketball will know who Panathinaikos are. It's a huge multi-sport club. It's a fantastic club. It really is. It's a really big family. The fans are absolutely bonkers. They're nuts. They're so passionate about sport. Weinberg's an amazing goalkeeper. Seeing his progression over the last 4 years has just been wow. I remember the first time I saw him in Budapest in 22. Now he's in the conversation for being the best in the world. But he will be tested every week. That's the thing. There's no place to hide in Greece. There's some amazing shooters there, some amazing tactical setups. So he'll be worked hard, and he obviously has nothing to prove per se, but he will develop there, and hopefully for the American national team be one of the top goalkeepers. As for Hannes, I mean, it was a bit unusual last year not seeing him in Europe. It was quite strange. I don't really know exactly why that was. Maybe it was something for him. He wanted to go to Australia, but I know there would have been many teams queuing up for for his services. And Apollon Smyrnis in Greece, very similar to Panathinaikos. It's a really, really smartly run club. He'll be up there with the top goal scorers for sure. And hopefully this will be an opportunity for him to rebuild his career in Europe. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking in a year's time, Hannes maybe even going to Pro Reco or somewhere like that, because I'm sure he's on their radar, despite being a year away. But yeah, again, he's going to absolutely tear it up in Greece, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's had some pretty high level experience in years prior, right before the time in Australia. Beautiful place to live, right? So you get the draw, right, of some of those guys going down under to spend some time there in the Australian League. And you mentioned the passion of those Greek multi-sport clubs. If you've never seen some of these videos of a basketball game where they're setting off flares inside, it is a wild scene inside some of these gyms. Moving over to the women's side, it's interesting. Last year, a couple of athletes did what they would kind of say like a guest appearance, like a short stay. Tara Prentice, now Olympian, planning the full season with Sabadell. Isabel Williams, recently of the Cal Bears, going to join her. How valuable is it, even just to have two, but to have national team teammates? Obviously, if it's the local country, they can stock the roster, right, with 10, 11, 12 members. But when you're playing abroad, how key do you think it is to at least have a familiar face with you on that same roster the way these two will have it in Barcelona?
Oh, it's really, really important. Moving to a new country, to a new environment, new language, new way of playing. Some teams are better than others, and I know Sabadell, for example, are a great place for this. But sometimes they don't know English so well. Sometimes it's harder for the coach to integrate them, and it's with all the best wills in the world. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. For Isabel, I mean, what a goalkeeper! I watched her a few times last year in Glyfada in Greece, where I thought she was amazing in Cal. She's taken her game to the next level and was one of the main reasons that Glyfada went so far in the European competition, the Euro Cup. So she's joining Sabadell, and it's just going to be amazing for her. But yeah, with Tara there, who made a really, really strong impression. She just played Champions League last year. Sabadell were hungry for more, so she signed on again, and it's going to be amazing for them. And obviously, there are some other girls in Spain as well. I know Jewel has just signed for Mataró, and they just this weekend won the Copa Catalunya, which is sort of it's a nice way to start your career. It's sort of like Catalunya is a region where Barcelona is, and it has this sort of independent sort of trophy at the beginning of the league, just to sort of kickstart the league. To celebrate all the great players that come from that region. And she looked really, really good. She's creative and smart, and she's fitting really, really well. She's got a great coach there, so she'll be great. And I think it's looking good for the American girls in Spain. I know Marin's obviously in Tenerife, which is a bit further away, but also an amazing place to play water polo. So it's looking good so far for the Americans there.
Yeah, no doubt. And you mentioned Jewel, right? Hitting the ground running, literally picking up a quick title right out of the gate. We talked about Greece on the men's side. Jovana Sekulic going to Olympiakos, and then Jordan Rainey planning to guest with Ethnikos. So not a full season, but she'll pop in when athletes and the women have done this before, and so have the men. I think about Maggie Steffens even last season. When they can pop in even for a short run or a 2-week tournament, that sort of thing. I imagine it's challenging in one sense to kind of quickly acclimate with the team, and you're not there long, but it's probably a real little boost of adrenaline there to have someone of this caliber come in and join the side, even for a couple of matches. Yeah.
I mean, I always believe that with few exceptions, the best players can always play with each other. It's part of fitting into a team that makes these players so good. But you're right. You can turn up to training, and it can hit you. Wow, look at this roster. I mean, Sabadell this summer reinforced like mad. I mean, for your listeners, they're interested in the women's game. Sabadell and Ferencváros this year, their rosters are just unbelievable. They've got probably in their 26 combined rosters, or 28 now. They've probably got maybe 20 of the best players there, which is really, really amazing. And it can be quite hard for outsiders to come in and adapt. But as we said earlier, I mean, for Tara and Isabel, for each other, they know each other and they can help each other out and ride the wave together. And I'm sure they'll both be really, really key contributors this season for Sabadell.
We're talking here with James from Water Polo 360. We talked about the transfer market, and it's always fun to watch your Instagram and those posts pop up, confirmed, right? Someone's moving from this spot to this spot. From the reporter side of it, from your end, trying to gather this information, how do you go about tracking down these leads before they become official, before the teams even announce them? You are out ahead of a lot of these things before they become official news.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier. Water polo people love to gossip. They absolutely love it. It's like part of our DNA. People love to talk. They love sharing information. Information's power and all of that jazz. But yeah, for me, I do have some good contacts that helps. And I try to act with ethically, really clean with these sort of things. And players, when they tell me things in confidence, I tell you, I always want to be the first to publish something. Sometimes it's not possible. Sometimes there's something that blindsides you. But the number of times that I've known about a transfer and just not been able to publish it because the player asked me not to, it can be quite frustrating because I know something and I want people to know it also. But it creates a lot of intrigue and it's good. It creates a lot of excitement. And if you look at the analytics, I mean, for my website and the page, these transfers always rack up the most hits, which is why it's so important, obviously, that it's reliable information. And sometimes I don't get it right, and sometimes I have to sort of backtrack, having bet my whole credibility that this player would be going somewhere, and then a week later they go somewhere else. It's just part and parcel of sort of the excitement. But I think it's important to have this element in the media for water polo. I know some players, maybe because they're not used to this sort of exposure, that they treat it quite wary and don't like the rumor of them signing. Maybe they think it could jeopardize the deal or something. But in my experience, I haven't really heard of media speculation leading to something not happening. So I think it's going to be something that players are going to have to get used to, because pages like mine and there are many others. This is something that's of great interest and also to the fans. So yeah, I like it. I've got a good network of people who I trust, and I have to trust them and they have to trust me that I'm going to present something in a reliable way. And it's sort of like a two-way relationship like that. It's really exciting. It's really exciting when you get a new transfer come in.
I was going to ask, is if you think back over the last year, is there one that you're most hyped about that you kind of got to it before anybody else, and it did some pretty solid numbers on your platforms?
Oh yeah, I mean, to be honest, there are quite a few, so it's quite hard to pick one.
Yeah,
I would actually say the Granados one was naturally going to be a big hit,
sure.
Especially because of last season. But there were people reporting, like myself, maybe as early as January, that it would probably happen again. And as soon as the new ownership came in, it was probably a dead certainty. I would say probably Andrea Plojanovic, leaving Marseille to go back to Radnički, a club in Serbia who made the Euro Cup final this past year against Pro Recco, lost in the final, but they've made many signings this summer, and he was sort of the headline one. I think also on a personal level as well. I mean, from the women's side, I think Rita Castelli, the Hungarian captain, leaving Spain and going back to Hungary, but to play for Ferencváros, is a really, really significant transfer. She used to play for Orviesha, which is the rivals of Ferencváros. She was brought up there. She learned to play there. So to then go back to the rivals, I think shows how far that club has come in terms of its women's side. 10 years ago, the women didn't exist and the men were nearly relegated, and now they're 2 times champions of Europe on the men's side, and probably their women probably have to go in as favourites this year. So I would say probably Granados. It's hard to look past that. Prolanovic going to Radnički is big, even though he's old. And I would say Castelli as well going there. And B. Ortiz as well, which is massive. Best female player in the world, leaving Spain after such a long time. And those two being in the same team is just absolutely terrifying.
We had a chance to talk with Granados on the counterattack a couple of weeks back before their trip to New York City, and kind of talked about this process of the false start with Recco the first time, but then the excitement of being able to join them for this season. Speaking of Recco, they were part of this contingent that came to New York City, same kind of week or weekend. Some of the biggest names in European club water polo on the men's side. At FTC and Recco playing in New York City, and then a couple of days later, Marseille, Barceloneta in the Bay Area. A lot of excitement around this. It's not uncommon. You see it all the time in soccer or football. Water polo clubs have done it too, but there seemed to be a little extra juice around these visits from those in the past. What was your sense of these exhibitions? Obviously, they're exactly that. They're friendlies, right? So still waiting for the real matches to begin. But what was your take on these clubs going to the U.S. and getting a chance to square off against some of the elite college programs?
Well, firstly, I was really, really happy that they decided to do it, and I'm really, really hoping that those that managed to watch it wherever they could on Overnght and stuff, and actually go in person, had a great time, and those young kids seeing those players that caliber in their backyard. For me, like it can be life changing. I know that sounds a bit dramatic, but seeing players like that there in America, it was fantastic. There were maybe some lopsided games, maybe with the Americans, but again, I don't read too much into that. Obviously, the games between Ferencváros and Pareco, particularly the 16-15 match where Fondelli scores in the last sort of minute or so, what was a real highlight for me. Americans, they do sport right. In terms of the media, in terms of the fan engagement. And I think actually this is something that I think we'll probably see a lot more of. But I'm hoping while maybe on the American side, they can learn from the water polo, we can then learn from actually how we market this sort of thing. This is a really, really big deal for these 4 clubs to go to America. There was a big hype on their social media, rightly so. I really like what they did with the marketing. I know that you could buy special tickets and sit on the bench and things like this. Yep. This is a really novel idea. Certainly in Europe, I don't think there's any sport that's doing something like this. So for me, I love the idea. I think it's amazing for the sport. UCLA gave a pretty good shift against Recco, I think, as well. There was 3 or 4 goals in it, which is good. Because a lot of us this side of the pond, we do wonder sometimes, how good are those American colleges? I think they're really good, but we don't actually get to see them face off. And so it's really special to see them play. But sort of from my media angle, I love the whole concept. Sort of the Americanization of sport, I think, is something that water polo really needs to move towards. You look at colleges, they have amazing graphic departments and social media. They're really, really hot on the stats, making a game something enjoyable to go and watch. I think these are lessons that hopefully these clubs have brought back. And I think it's really, really important if the sport wants to grow in Europe, not just around the world, but in Europe, that we try and pinch those things. And hopefully they learn that on their tour.
Yeah, a lot of excitement around those matches. Agree with everything you said there. Definitely a nice way to display the sport, to market the sport, and hopefully it leads to other clubs wanting to make a regular visit to somewhere in the U.S. and put on some of these showcases. And by all accounts, especially at the New York City matches, the fans seem to have a great time there. Not a gigantic venue, but they packed it out as best as possible. We're talking here with James from Water Polo 360. Just last one for you, and again, hopefully we'll be able to check back with you during this season. as club play kind of heats up and get a little update on how the men and women are doing that represent Team USA. But most recently, I've seen quite a few posts from you on the VRL, a new initiative. Can you tell us a bit more about that, how that came together, and kind of what the plans are for that going forward, as best as you can tell?
Yeah, so there exists a league called the Regional League, aka the Adriatic League, which is based around the Adriatic, or as maybe some others know, you're sort of the former Yugoslavian countries, the countries that made up Yugoslavia. So that's obviously Croatia, that's Serbia, Montenegro, we got Slovenia and Bosnia, although they're not so much involved in it. And this league has been operating for, I would say, probably about 20 years or something, where the best clubs in those areas form a league. And this is separate to their national league. So a Serbian club, for example, would play a Serbian championship game and then would play a regional league game and then Champions League. And at the end of last season, after a really, really strong competition, a really, really high quality competition between 4 or 5 teams that could easily have won, it was decided that it would be scrapped. And I think part of that was fixture sort of congestion, but I think also there was a financial element to that as well. Mm-hmm. And this is a bit of a disaster because this is ostensibly the best league in the world. We're talking Partizan and we're talking Novi Beograd, we're talking Red Star in Serbia, Radnički, Jug Dubrovnik in Croatia, Jadran Split, Mladost, who have revived in these last few years, Jadran Herceg-Novi and Budva and Primorac. We're talking elite clubs here, and the idea of there being no regional league frees up the calendar, but also is a massive loss for the sport. Essentially, the Serbian and the Montenegrin side, who are obviously quite close, they felt that this was maybe unacceptable. So without the Croatians, they've now formed just for 1 year. It's important to say as well, I might have left it out, that the regional league would be cancelled for 1 year to start with. So it was planned to return in 26, although we don't know whether that will actually happen. So the Serbian and Montenegrin Federation have essentially created their regional league. So it's without the Croatian clubs, but there's still obviously some amazing clubs in there. And it looks like the media around it has improved. I know Total Water Polo are leading the front of that and doing a really good job. I feel like maybe this sort of break has sort of forced there to be maybe a little bit better organisation. So it's sad, obviously, that the Croatian teams are not going to be in there. Jadran Split, Jug, Mladost, Primorje, amazing clubs, really, really strong clubs. But at least we do have the Serbian and Montenegrin sort of backup. And it'll be interesting to see how that goes. There's 8 teams in the first league and there's 8 teams in the second division as well. And there'll be entertaining games for sure. And we'll see how it goes. And I think it's probably a case of watch this space next September to see whether the Croatian teams want to come back, or whether indeed the Serbian and Montenegrin teams let them come back. So, it's interesting, a bit political, but the water polo will be at a really high level, and for me, that's the most important thing.
Well, this has been just a wealth of information. James Spencer-Boyce, Water Polo 360. Thanks for joining us here on the Counterattack. Appreciating you downloading us on so many things as it relates to club water polo especially, and where Team USA fits in. And hopefully we can talk with you again as the season progresses.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Hope so too.
Thanks again to James for joining us. Nate as well. Great to have 2 big conversations here on the Counterattack this week. More next week as we're rolling through the heart of college water polo season, and a whole lot more going on here in the world of USA water polo. Now on to our Malmsten Goal of the Week. We check in with Lillian Batty here. This is futures action for the CDM Polo Standout, and check out this delivery here. Shout out to Lillian and everyone competing in futures. Don't forget to share some of your favorite goals or goalie saves. You can DM us at USAWP or also tag us. Also check in with the Overnght social media channels as well. As we close things out, let's look ahead. Upcoming events, Rocktober, the 12U Classic, headed back to Arizona this October, and then the Delfina Champions Cup off to Bloomington, Indiana this November. Last but not least, the NCAA Championship in early December at Stanford, and the Division III Championship at a location to be determined also in early December. A lot of big-time water polo on the way. Looking forward to all the action. That'll do it for this week's episode of The Counterattack. Thanks so much for joining us. And don't forget, when you're on The Counterattack, look weak side.